Hello everyone. I just wanted to make some general comments about well, where we are and where we're headed. You've seen now that we've gone through the earliest evolution of Homo and its expansion basically around the world into a wide variety of environments. And then you get a very clear break with 4 million years of foraging, hunting and gathering, to a new mode of subsistence, which is farming or domestication. And you need to keep in mind, of course, that as I mentioned in the audio lectures, keep in mind that not everybody, of course, worldwide sort of made a switch from foraging to farming. Many people continued to farm and did the other modes of subsistence that I mentioned, pastoralism, herding animals, and horticulture, a sort of low-intensity form of farming, and then, of course, hunting and gathering or foraging. There are people who still did that, or continue to that, and do that still today. So it's not as though everybody worldwide made this switch. What does happen, though, is that populations of farming people grow. And as I mentioned in the audio lectures, farming people like lots of people. They like to have a lot of people because after just a few years, actually, young humans can be used for farm work, and there's a lot of work on a farm, essentially. So populations grow, and for other reasons that we're going to see now, connected with urbanism and the origins of civilization, human populations grow after farming. That's in strong contrast to what you see with foraging people, who typically keep their populations low. They stay mobile, and again, you've heard all of that. So keep that in mind, that not everybody makes this switch. And what does happen is that the farming populations grow, and that actually, in many cases, does push the hunting and gathering or foraging people out to what we would call sort of the margins. So they're up now in the Arctic or in the central Congo or some places in central or East Asia, sort of tucked away in these little pockets. Well, they've kind of been pushed to those remaining areas by the expansion of agricultural populations. You start to see now in the archaeological record or in your textbook, you're seeing a large concern with artifacts. We've seen a lot of stone tools so far and fossils, but now we see a big concern, or we're going to start seeing a large concern with pottery, pieces of pottery used by farming people to cook things and to store things. And just like stone tools are so important for the prehistoric archaeologist or the pre-farming archaeologist, pottery is really important for the archaeologist who deals with starting around 10,000 years ago when you have these farming people, because worldwide farming people really intensively use a lot of pottery. And so you can see here just a piece of ancient pottery. You can cut these. This one has been sectioned carefully. You can cut them and examine the different kinds of clay inside, that kind of thing. You can just look at the, this is what's called a rim sherd, so it comes from the rim, the upper part of the vessel. And this part you can tell by that curvature, well, you could tell how big around it was all the way around. Well, it gives you the size of the opening there. In other cases, you might get the size of the whole vessel from these curves, and so you can start to reconstruct the volume of things, perhaps what they were used for. You can sometimes find residues on the inside of these, and that can be scraped off and put into analysis, and we can understand what was being cooked in there. So archaeologists extract just as much information and just as ingeniously extract as much information as they can from pottery now, increasingly with farming peoples, as we do from stone tools in the previous period. I think that's what I really wanted to say. Now we're going right from agriculture into urbanism and civilizations, and we'll spend the rest of the class on civilizations. If you want to look at a great video, by the way, about the way that humanity spread around the world and adapted to these different places. I've mentioned this before. I did you've heard a lecture on the colonization of the Pacific. Here's a great video about it called The Navigators, Pathfinders in the Pacific. You might be able to find that as a DVD somewhere, or perhaps through the Linfield Library System. There's also a DVD called Nanook of the North, and this one is a documentary about the colonization or the way that native people live in the Arctic regions. All right, that's really what I wanted to say. I will put this online and try and get your grades up to date. I've just got a few more to grade. All right? Great. I'll see you next time. Quick thing, I forgot to mention, another one of the artifacts that is commonly associated with early farming, in addition to pottery, are axes made of stone, and they have been oftentimes ground down into a shape, and you would fit this into the end of a handle, and you can use this to cut down trees. And farmers basically have a lot of interest in knocking down trees or cutting down trees to make fields for agriculture. And we have found, or archaeologists have found, ground or chipped stone axes like this. Well, this is a ground stone axe, but they found stone axes as early as almost 40,000 years ago in New Guinea. So, but that's the beginning of horticulture there. They don't do the agriculture that we're starting to see now with the origins of civilizations and the origins of urbanism. But it's a variety of subsistence that uses farming. And I've just heard, somebody's just told me that now there is a date of 35,000 years for ground stone axes, axe like this, ground stone axes in Australia, also presumably to cut down trees. Now, they never really picked up farming in intensive farming that we know of. A bit of horticulture, but that's actually quite surprising, because even among the Aboriginal people of Australia, not much evidence of intensive or really serious horticulture. Maybe they picked it up for a while and it didn't work out, and they went to foraging and continued foraging. Who knows? Anyway, new date for ground stone axes like this, or axe heads like this, in Australia. All right, great. Archaeological news like that is a continuous flow of it, and that's why I'm writing a textbook that's going to be just entirely online, and it's much easier to update than a typical hard copy text, because the archaeology news is just continuous. All right, see you next time.